most of the time, this is not a skill problem. It's not that you're not a good enough writer or that you need more experience or that the story is bad. Most of the time, it's just a perspective problem. Like, you just need you need to look at it from a slightly different angle.
We're sisters, best friends, and authors on a mission to help you stoke your creative fire and live the life of your dreams. We believe that purpose fuels passion and that creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. There's never been a better time to bless the world with your dream realized. You're listening to The Kate and Abby Show.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Kate and Abby Show. I'm Abby. This is Kate. We are here today to talk about why your story isn't hitting yet and what to do to fix it, to fix your approach, to fix it on a structural level or a scene-by-scene level, whatever it is that's just not quite there yet, that you know it has potential, you know it can be amazing, but it's just like not quite hitting the mark that you want it to. This can be a really difficult struggle for a lot of writers to deal with because oftentimes it's a lack of clarity that keeps us from moving forward, a lack of a good sense of direction. And when you're in that state of analysis paralysis where you're not even sure if what you're working on is good, if you're not even sure that the direction you're moving forward in is the direction you should be moving forward in, that's the trickiest thing to deal with, I think, as a writer. So we're going to be tackling that topic today and sort of breaking down what you can do, what you can ask yourself to troubleshoot your own lack of clarity with your book and figure out what needs fixing, what needs repairing, or what needs just more attention, more focus as you go through your story creation process, whether you're writing your first draft or your second draft, or you're just revising, trying to take an older manuscript and make it something better. Wherever you are in your writing journey, I think there will be a lot of good golden nuggets in this episode to apply to your process.
Agreed.
So let's get straight into it. First, I think we need to diagnose why your story is not hitting. I think that's step 0, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Asking yourself, okay, what is actually going on?
Kind of taking that step back.
Yeah.
And just looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know, I recently compared it in a YouTube video to when you taste soup you're making and you're like, something's missing and I can't quite put my finger on what it is.
Right.
We need to first figure out what is that missing ingredient.
Yeah.
So that we can then add that in. We don't want to just be, randomly adding in spices and adding in too much and we're still not hitting on what that ingredient actually is. So we need to identify that. We need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah. What would you say is the best way to take that step back and look at the bigger picture?
I think taking a few days maybe to at least a couple days. If you're in the thick of the first draft process and you don't want to take a break, totally understand that. But maybe take a day or two, refresh your mind, relax, and then look at it with fresh eyes, read back over it. Another great way is to ask some beta readers or friends or other writers, that are willing to read through your work. Ask them to read it. Work with a writing coach. I work with writers all the time that I'm doing this exact thing for them. I'm helping them identify what isn't working. But get someone to put fresh eyes on your work because that can give you a new perspective and it can help you hit on, okay, what are the things that are working together really well?
Yeah.
And be encouraged from that.
Right.
And then what are the things that aren't working as well? And how can we ramp them up so they work better? How can we fine tune them and refine them so that they're just a bit sharper, a bit more potent in how the reader is processing them?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's all really good advice. And I think that depending on what stage you're at in your manuscript, you can take different approaches with it. Another tool that's really helpful is the manuscript analysis side of Pro Writing Aid, which I've mentioned in videos before. This video is not sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. I just really love this tool. And you can put your manuscript in there and it kind of gives you that beta reader type feedback.
Yes.
And shows you what's working well, what's a minor concern, what's a major concern. And that can be really helpful, especially if you feel like you're not quite confident enough to share it with anybody else. And
yeah, I
also
like that.
just-
That takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Because I think some writers like, I just don't
Yeah.
really feel comfortable having anyone read it yet. So it can be like a very laid back approach where it's
Yeah.
like, well, no one's really seeing it.
Right. It's like
No one's really seeing
saving
it.
yourself any embarrassment.
Yes.
But another thing that I've personally found really helps me is if I feel like something's just off about like the flavor, like you're saying, the
Right.
flavor, like there's something missing, I will go to like my inspiration pieces. So like think of a story, whether it's a book, a movie, a TV show that reminds you of what you want this to feel like. It doesn't even have to be the same genre, but what you want it to feel like. I do this all the time. I go to those sources and I watch some of those inspiration movies. I read some of those inspiration books, and I'm like, it becomes way more clear. Like it becomes instantly clear. Like, oh, that's what I want it to feel like. And I can see it has XYZ ingredients, and I need those ingredients to stand out more in my piece, in my, work of fiction, whatever it is I'm working on. So that is another thing that it's kind of like a little bit of a weird hack, but I find that it's really helpful. Just reminding yourself of what do you want it to actually feel like.
Right.
And then some of those things might stand out to you in somebody else's work that are like ingredients that are actually really easy to add or just bring more brightness to in your work.
Right. No, that's a really good point. I like that a lot. And it's nice, like I said, to have the pressures off if you don't want to share with anyone else or if you don't feel ready to share with beta readers. But essentially just like getting that fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Can
having
be
the
so
perspective
helpful.
shift. And it also gives you confidence in, I think, your skill, because most of the time this is not a skill problem. It's not that you're not a good enough writer or that you need more experience or that the story is bad. Most of the time it's just a perspective problem. Like you just need you need to look at it from a slightly different angle.
And I think honestly, the answer to that question more often than not is that we've just lost the thread of internal conflict.
Yeah.
That is so often the answer. Now it can be different answers, absolutely, but it's so common that we're not feeling what the main character is feeling quite enough.
Yeah.
And that's something I've worked with so many writers on inside of Muse coaching, inside of the one-to-one mentorship container, inside of book therapy, all my coaching offerings. I'm usually telling writers, let's take a step back and root back into what is the main character feeling?
Yeah.
Why do they feel this way about it? Because we're usually lost in the narrative. We're lost in too many characters. We don't feel, why is this important to the main character?
Or we're just like staying on the surface of like what's happening that's like exciting and urgent.
Just the events of the story, not why is it uniquely important to this character.
Right.
And that's really the whole driving force behind your book, Make Your Story Matter.
Yes. Yeah, so my book, Make Your Story Matter, which is now available for pre-order. So make sure you grab your copy with the link below.
Go pre-order it, guys.
There's some really fun bonuses that come with this book when you pre-order, but those are only available between now and August 11th. So make sure you pre-order. But in this book, that's basically what we're breaking down, is like how to dig into that internal conflict that your character has that's at the heart of your story, why it matters to your character, to your readers, to the world by extension, but most of all, why it matters to you. Right. And that's where the theme and the big idea comes in. And if your character doesn't have that internal conflict, that inner battle that they're dealing with, your story will feel flat. It will feel superficial. It'll feel like it's all just action, plot-driven stuff happening on the surface, and there's no deeper meaning or consequence behind any of it. So that was my goal with this book, is to make not another, boring textbook that you have to get through to understand how to write better prose or whatever. This is an interactive guide to unlocking your brain's natural storytelling instincts that you already have to write a book that readers love, a book that readers connect with because they can connect with and relate to internal conflict. That's because the heart
we
and soul.
all have that.
Yeah, that's
we all have that. We can identify with that.
Yeah,
we can relate
the one
to
thing
that.
every person on planet Earth can relate to. Like they can't relate to your character's, favorite hobbies or sports or job or interests or their sense of humor. Those things are going to be different for everybody.
Right.
But we can all relate to this inner battle of what we want and what we're afraid of. That's really all internal conflict boils down to. Your character wants something, but your character is afraid of something, and both those things stem from this false belief that they've been holding on to their whole lives. So if that is at the heart of your story, then you just need to like keep bringing it back to that thread.
Right.
Like when you feel lost or stuck or like, this just isn't hitting, this just isn't landing, it's something about it feels like shallow or not that punchy.
Right.
Like have a quiet moment with your main character, maybe it can be in between scenes of action scenes or whatever, where they can reflect upon why this next event or this thing that just happened matters to them. Like how it connects to their internal conflict. How are they going to process that emotionally?
And I also think it's a great opportunity to find places in action beats to show us their feelings as well. Like aside from just their internal dialogue that they're having with themselves, find moments where they're in tension, in maybe dialogue with other characters, in sticky situations, and show us, you know, the clenched fist, the sweating, the heart pounding, the thoughts racing. Show us in their body language. Show us in how they communicate with other characters. Show us by what they don't say and what they hold back and what they hold in and what they hold on to. Those are all little nuanced things that just make your story so much richer.
Yeah, I agree. That's so important. And not hitting pause on the action to show that is like really, really powerful. When you can pull off both those things at the same time, like the plot is moving forward and we're also seeing this character's inner conflict at the same time. That's like so powerful. And you can even show this through like, I have so many writers ask me like, how do I show my character's inner conflict? How do I show what they're feeling and what they're struggling with? And a lot of times this just shows up in their decision making. Literally how they make their next choice is their internal conflict. Like if you think about it like from that perspective, like this conflict and this false belief is going to drive their every decision. They're making decisions, all these little micro decisions throughout the whole course of the story. So every single one of those decisions is an opportunity to shine a light on their inner conflict.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So what they're doing is communicating how they're feeling inside, which is the same with us. It's the same with us. Sure. You can analyze, your own behavior, your family's behavior, your friends. Every single person operates out of this.
Yeah.
We have our own internal conflict we're dealing with, and we make decisions based off of those emotions firing through us.
Right.
The thoughts going on inside our heads, whether we do something or hold back from doing something.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. You can use those powerful decision-making moments to show us a reflection of how the character is feeling on a deeper, more internal level.
Yes, absolutely. I think another thing that is a problem when it shows up, or rather doesn't show up, it's kind of the lack of this thing that can make a story feel like something's off or something's missing or just lackluster, is a lack of cause and effect. Like when something happens and there's no real consequence or nothing changes because of it. Like even if these are tiny micro things changing, every single chapter of your book should be setting something in motion that has an impact in the next chapter. So even if that something is really, really tiny, like a character leaves their glasses on the coffee table and then they somehow get thrown on the floor and then somebody steps on them and now they need to go order new glasses and they don't have their glasses. Something as small as that is like, we need to follow through that with that cause and effect and have there be an actual consequence to what's happening. And something on a larger scale could be like a character A is going somewhere that they know character B won't like, so they lie about it, but they think, oh, they'll never find out. And then later character B finds out because they are like trying to find this person and maybe they call the place where they think they are but they're not there, and then it turns into this spiral of deception and lies and I thought you said this, no you said this, and then there are real consequences to that. When a story feels like kind of lackluster or like something's missing, oftentimes it's a lack of consequences or anything changing as a result of what just happened. Like I see that happen a lot with books and TV shows where it's like you have something happen that you're like, oh, there's going to be some consequence to that. But then like it's like flatline, like nothing really happens.
Really big happens.
Yeah.
There's no big results.
Yeah, and then nothing's really changing or shifting. And sometimes we can repeat the same cause over and over and over again and no effect. You know, and that can make it feel like we're just kind of on this merry-go-round of conflict, seeing the same things happen to the same characters, the same situations, the same conversations, but nothing ever really changes as a consequence. So I guess like incorporating more consequences, even if they're mini consequences, into your story, I think can really make it feel more like there's more depth and there's more momentum throughout the progression of what's happening with these characters.
Yeah, exactly. And it also feels more rewarding for the reader. If you want to build trust with your reader or your viewer, if you're writing screenplays, you want to have the same ingredients going on.
Right.
We want to build trust with the reader. We don't want our reader to constantly feel betrayed.
Yeah.
And then eventually they're going to start thinking, I thought the last thing would lead somewhere and it didn't. So this isn't probably going to lead anywhere either.
Yeah.
You know, so we want to reward our readers. Like this is something you've talked about, how you're like wanting to create those little reward moments for readers.
Yes, like the curiosity
That's what building
reward.
Right, curiosity and
ratio.
reward. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And that's important with building your readers' trust in you as a narrator of a story.
Exactly. And you can have that curiosity and reward happening even if you're not writing something like suspense or mystery. It doesn't have to be something like deeply mysterious. It could be something really simple. It could be a romance story that's like, oh, now these two people who used to be boyfriend, girlfriend just walked into the same party and they don't know the other is there. What's going to happen? That's curiosity.
Right.
So we can leverage this in literally any genre. And the curiosity, when you have twice as many questions as you have answers, you're still getting those answers, but you're hungry for more.
Right.
So you're not being given answers that you haven't even asked questions to yet. But you're asking questions and wanting to know what's going to happen. But like I said before, like you have to set up consequences.
Exactly.
Show there is going to be a cause and effect here.
Right. It's like it's a little like the Schrodinger's cat, you know, the box with the cat inside of the cat's both alive and dead till you open the box and figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like so often it's like you open the box and actually there's nothing in here. I thought there would be, but there's nothing. Yeah. So it's like you want one of those we're growing this mystery in our readers' minds. They want to know what the result is, and we need to make sure if we introduce that thread that we pull it back through. We tie it off. We finish it up.
Yeah.
And that's the reward for the reader. We don't want to lose that or, oh yeah, I had that going and I don't know what happened to that. Or it just kind of turned out to be like fake tension. Me and Abby call it fake tension. I don't know if we've ever talked really. I think we've talked a little bit about fake tension in episodes where we've talked about building tension in your writing. But like, so how would you describe what fake tension is?
Fake tension is basically, the best way to describe it is pretend you're writing a scene where two characters are in a car and in the end of the chapter they're like, the car's careening towards the cliff. And then we end the chapter and then the next chapter opens with, oh, I grabbed the steering wheel and swerved back onto the road and everything's okay. And the conflict, the tension's literally done in one sentence or a few sentences. Or like, we're in a creepy haunted house and then the door slams shut behind us and then chapter end. And then the next chapter opens with like, oh, my best friend's giggling on the other side of the door. Ha ha, I gotcha. You know, something like that. That's like, this is fake. These are repeated fake outs. They make your reader feel like they're just being slapped in the face over and over again. So you don't want to dabble in fake tension. And make your tension be earned and let there be real consequences to it. Like I said, even if the consequences are minor, like it could be a minor consequence. Like we're in the creepy haunted house and the door slams shut behind us and it's not like a ghost slamming the door shut, but you know, maybe it's that the character like, you know, didn't prop the door open, so now it's shut and it locked, and now they have to figure out a new way to get out of the room. So there's a real consequence there.
Exactly.
It might not be something like huge and spooky and scary, but it's like,
but
still real
it ups the ante of the story. You want to be thinking about that. Like, what is upping the ante of this story? And that was something I talked about in one of my recent YouTube videos as well, which was like cutting out fluff and like looking at, okay, is it moving the characters forward in some meaningful way, or is it raising the stakes of the story?
Yeah.
Like, we want every little thing that's happening to mean something, not just be like, oh yeah, that doesn't,
like a throwaway.
Really, it's a throwaway line or a throwaway paragraph, and it doesn't really do anything.
Right.
So we just want to always be asking ourselves, like, what is this actually doing? And in some cases, if you're writing like maybe a lighthearted comedy, maybe the comedy is adding to the story, and that's fine. But we always want to be cognizant of what is this bringing to the table. And if it's not bringing anything, then it's kind of just meandering.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that kind of ties nicely into another thing, which is the heart and soul of your story. That might be what is the problem area. If you feel like, I've done all these things, and all these, like, you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I've done all these things, like every single one, check them all off, but it's still missing something. It could be that you haven't fully defined why it matters to the characters and to you. So, like, what is the underlying big idea or theme behind this story? We talked about that a tiny bit earlier when I was talking about make your story matter. But this can be literally like the missing magic ingredient, that if you feel like it's just not quite there, and I've experienced this too, like I've built characters with inner conflict and good false beliefs, and I'm like, okay, I know how those false beliefs are going to pertain to the theme, but then halfway through I'm like feeling like I'm losing grasp on that theme. Just reconnecting with that idea of like, well, what actually is the takeaway? What do I want? What feeling do I want my reader to have when they finish this book? What do I want them to be thinking about? Like, what ideas do I want them to be thinking about long after they've finished reading this book? And that will be different for everybody. It will be different for every writer, every story. But I think when you do that, like, halfway point check-in, or even maybe you check in with yourself a few times throughout the process and ask yourself, like, well, what is, like, the deeper heart and soul behind what's happening here? That can help to just breathe that life back into your story and make it feel like it's more than a story. Like, it has a deeper connection to your heart that you're hoping will reach out and touch somebody else's heart. That's like the most powerful thing about storytelling.
Right. You know? It is so powerful, and also helps to simplify the process. Yeah. Like, you wouldn't think so, but it actually does, because it's not like, oh, well, it's all these parts and pieces in the world building and the government and the science and all the cast of characters have to all align, and I have to make sure everything's... It's like, no, let's strip it all down to just come back to... what does it mean to the main character?
Yeah. Or can we boil it down to like just one word?
Right. Exactly. You know? And then we can just come back to that as our anchor point, instead of having to make sure all these things are sort of running together like clockwork. Right. We can come back to something so simple.
Yeah.
And that, you know, as a writer, I know how valuable that can be to simplify your process. So it's not so confusing. Yeah. It's not so overwhelming. It's not so complicated.
Right. Exactly. And oftentimes getting to those answers is just a matter of asking yourself the right questions. Like asking yourself, what is my character really struggling with in their heart of hearts? What is their like false belief that's driving their every decision? What is this internal compass that they live by? Where did that belief even come from? And once you start asking yourself these questions and sort of imagine you're talking to your character and they're like lying on a sofa with a box of tissues, spilling all of their thoughts and feelings about this, and keep asking them those questions and see what comes up. Like, it can be so eye-opening just to like pretend you're talking to your characters like that.
I love that.
You know, and pulling out their inner conflict like a therapy session.
That's so helpful. Yeah. And that will really help you get to the crux of like what exactly is going on. But you talk about all of this, like all these points we've gone over and more in your upcoming book, Make Your Story Matter.
Yes. Yeah. So like if you're like, I want just a clear path throughout this whole process. That's exactly why I wrote this book, to be an interactive guide. And the thing I love about it is that you don't have to read it cover to cover before you start implementing what you learn. Like, you can literally start taking action in chapter 1. That's how
Which is so amazing to me, because there's really like, I can't think of personally off the top of my head another writing theory book that I've read that does that. It's usually like you have to digest so much and take so many notes and get through at least the bulk of it before you can start to even feel capable of implementing it. Whereas this book, you can literally just start playing with your writing and you make it a playful, fun process.
Yeah.
It's not this static, boring, laborious, like, oh, let's, deconstruct everything and make it a really arduous process to get through.
Right.
This is actually fun stuff.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. And it comes with a companion workbook so that you can print that off and follow along and use it as many times as you want for like as many books as you want. And I love that too, because it's not just like, okay, I have to read this and I have to take notes and I have to highlight it. like everything's already kind of been done for you. You just have to follow along. And as you build this story from scratch and build it from the ground up, you're going to actually enjoy the process. Like, it's actually going to be a fun exploration. And that's what I want it to be. Like you said, I want it to be fun, because I've read so many writing books that aren't fun. They feel like you're just doing homework and trying to memorize things and understand rules and theory. And that doesn't unlock your creativity. No. And I genuinely believe that we all have this innate storytelling ability in us, because humans think in terms of story. Our brains are designed to understand and communicate through story. So that's already in you. You just need to unlock it. And that's what this book is all about. So if you haven't pre-ordered your copy, definitely click the link below this video to grab your copy and some super special bonus goodies. There's a bonus chapter on world building. There's a live reading party I'm inviting you guys to. There are some amazing other resources for authors. And also 30 days of my Story University you will unlock for free when you pre-order this book.
Which is like an enormous amount of valuable content. Like, that's guys, launching. You're going to love it. Yeah,
it's launching in June. I'm really excited for it. But it's going to be all my videos, all my live trainings, all my courses, all my templates, ad-free, in a beautiful place where everything is organized, easy to interact with, easy to engage with, and there's also a private community of writers in there as well. So it's exciting. It's a great thing to get in on the ground floor of. So definitely click the link below, grab your copy, and yeah, I can't wait for you to read this book. But hopefully you took some notes from this episode and enjoyed this discussion. We have a lot of fun topics still to come, and we love to hear from you guys and hear what you want to hear us talk about and discuss. So definitely drop your suggestions in the comments below. We would love to hear from you guys, hear what you think of this episode. What are some things that you feel like maybe you were able to identify through listening to this about your own writing that are areas that need fixing or tweaking?
And if you enjoy the podcast and you want it to keep going, we don't do any sponsorships or anything like that. It's literally sponsored by you guys. So feel free to go to patreon.com, check out our Patreon, and support us if you would like to keep this podcast alive and well and free of interruptions here on YouTube and other podcasting platforms where you listen to it.
Yes, and make sure that you're subscribed to both our channels. So subscribe to Kate's channel, subscribe to my channel, join this amazing community of writers. We would love to have you. We will see you in the next episode. Until then,
stay stoked
and rock on.